This is a download from BFM 89.9, the business station.
BFM 89.9, the business station. It's Caroline and Uma here with you on the evening edition. Our Dato Siti Nurhaliza is arguably the most successful and popular female singer in Malaysia, who is no stranger to most of us, and even our neighbours in Indonesia, who make up a large, if not the bigger, portion of her fan base. Now, she's certainly one personality worthy of a documentary, and today our guest, Chris Humphrey, joins us to tell us about just that, a documentary on Dato Siti Nurhaliza, which is his latest production. Chris is the executive producer for AETN All Asia Networks. Welcome, Chris. Nice to have you here with us.
Thank you.
All
nice
right.
to be here.
So let's start with a little bit of background information about yourself. I mean, how many documentaries have you produced in the past, say, 10 years as a TV producer in Singapore?
Well, the past 10 years I was making shows, but with AETN All Asia Networks, probably last 3 years, we've made, I don't know, 50, 60 local productions.
Oh, very impressive.
Yeah, I've been busy.
All right. And when exactly did you join AETN All Asia Networks?
3 years ago.
All right. And you joined, I understand, despite having your own production company.
Yes, I had my own production company, and the opportunity came along to jump to the other side, which I did.
So I take it from your accent that you're British.
I am.
So why Singapore? Why choose to base yourself in Singapore and I guess Malaysia?
Oh, I'm based in Singapore. The story, I went travelling in 1992, and in the Bangkok riots of 92 in May, I was stuck in a small guest house and I met an Australian. This Australian was earning money modelling. We couldn't go anywhere, so we became quite good friends. He went and did his modelling and then became a director in Singapore. I went to Japan to teach music and English after teaching music and English in the UK. And then he asked me in 1998, "Oi, do you want to fancy a bit of producing?" I was like, "What's that?" So he said, "Oh, come over," because my contract had finished. So really, that's it. It was a very...
That's a quirk of fate.
It was, yeah. And then I worked with him for a while, and then he left and I stayed.
Right. I mean, so
1998, that was, yeah.
So about Siti Nurhaliza, it's pretty obvious we're big fans.
Right.
In Malaysia, were you a fan? Did you know about her before the documentary, and are you a fan after making the documentary?
Did I know? I knew about her before because, when we're making... or we're looking at local content, especially in Malaysia, the big names come. They come to you from the companies we've worked with, and we do our own research. So absolutely, she was there. Did I know anything about her? Not really. Funnily enough, she appeared on our P. Ramlee show that we made. Mm-hmm. And I really remember saying to Shuhaimi Baba when we were watching the show, and she sings in the show. And as we're going through the narrative, it's like, who's this? What's this woman doing here? Why is she singing? That's Siti Nurhaliza. Why is she singing? Why is she singing in our P. Ramlee show? Oh, she's almost as famous. My goodness. So that was when during P. Ramlee, I was starting to realise, wow, she's really big. Right. And then, after making the show, well, it only takes a few minutes to listen to her voice, which I think amazing.
Well, why did you decide to do a documentary on her? I mean, was it just that one incident that that spurred you on? I must do something on her.
No, you said it yourself. She's one of the most famous people in the history of Malaysian singing. So it wasn't something that she hasn't just turned up on our books. She's always been there. But what's really important for us in our local shows is if we can get the personality on the show itself. And being so busy, you have to understand we need to manoeuvre and wait for that to happen. I'd hate to make a show without her in it. So she's a busy woman. We have to cut a bit of slack and wait for that window.
How long did it take you to produce the whole thing?
I think we've been talking about it for we know we're going to be making her. I think literally sitting down and starting probably in January. It was going to be earlier. Her schedule kept being delayed. We kept pushing. We were waiting basically, and then she gave us the time, which is great. She was great.
January until now. I mean, is that a typical sort of time frame for a documentary, or is that very, very long? Not sure.
I would say 6 months. I mean, if you have to do the research, sometimes the research can take a long time. But a lot of time the producers will come to us. They've done their research already, because in order for them to get a project on the channel, they have to be able to show that they've got good access to these, good access to the story. Otherwise, we'll ask the question, well, hold on, we can tell the same story. So what's special about you bringing this story to us?
All right, it's almost 1 year in the making. We're going to find out more about the making of the Siti Nurhaliza documentary in just a bit.
Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but this documentary is going to air on the History Channel.
That's correct.
Now, we were talking earlier about the P. Ramlee documentary. I really enjoyed that. I think I've seen it multiple times.
Right.
Now, the History Channel has been doing a lot of Malaysian content. Recently, we've got P. Ramlee. I think there was some stuff on the emergency and the communist insurgency.
That's right. Yes.
Stuff on our previous prime ministers. When did this happen? Is this an active effort on the History Channel to actually have such localized content?
It is, yes. The channel's reasonably, it's a reasonably new channel, and we're very interested in making local productions. We're very active in finding content that resonates with the local audience. So we have to understand that there's a lot of interest in local stories, and we make a lot of effort to find those stories.
Now, were you involved in the production of those other documentaries as well?
Yes.
Now, how difficult was it? Because we're not very good at archiving things. And
yes, so I believe. And I hear continuously from my producers.
And how easy was it to get footage? How easy was it to track down people who, possess that footage, or how difficult, rather? Well,
it's always a time-consuming process for sure, and that's why a lot of the questions we ask at the commissioning stage is, will we be able to have access to this footage? Will we be able to get access to Siti's archive, for example? Nothing worse than watching a show all the way through. You can't hear how she sings, you don't know what she looks like, you're not hearing her voice. So all those questions we ask up front before. With the longer show, with the shows more historical, like The Emergency, or a show we're doing now, another show coming up on history, which is called Rising Sun over Malaya, and it's about the Japanese occupation of Malaya. The same thing, we're looking for archives. The team they know where to get their archives. They've tapped into people. I mean, the Malaysian archives, it's a bit like a lucky dip, I'm told.
That it is, yeah.
A lot of it, I think, also boils down to dollars and cents. Obviously, when you're making a program, you want it to be able to sell. So when you create local content like this, does it travel well?
Yes, it does travel well, yeah. I mean, you remember, we're making stories that are essentially, they've got to be compelling to a viewer around our region. So even if it has a strong Malaysian content, the story of Sudirman or P. Ramlee, and people won't have heard of P. Ramlee, however huge he is here, we're not going to have our Taiwanese audience necessarily knowing. But to know when somebody's that famous, or Sudirman, who you look at his Chowkit Road, and you look at the thousands of people that turned out, I, as a viewer who doesn't know anything about him, you ask, wow, who is that guy? Who is that guy to command such an audience? And I think we've got that curiosity for whichever personality in whatever country, if they command that much respect, we've still got to guide the story and give it, the triumph and jeopardy to make it interesting.
So how tricky was it then dealing with someone who's alive and well and in the contemporary consciousness? Because I guess I don't know whether it's easier, but I guess, they did tell no tales. But, when dealing with Siti, she's right there.
She is right there. Is it easier? Is it harder? People were very protective of Sudirman and P. Ramlee, very, very much so. And I think the same for Siti, though. Siti can answer for herself, you see. And that was essential for us. So, in the story, Siti's there to, fend for herself. With the others, they can be a bit protective about Sudirman and
the legacy.
The legacy, exactly, the legacies, yeah.
Does it limit you somewhat, though? I mean, if the person is alive and well, and say, for example, let's just not use Siti as an example, but anyone else, and, there's perhaps scandals going around and things like that, how hard is it for you to, portray the true story?
That's a good question. How hard? somebody like let's take Siti for example.
Okay.
You know, first questions were, so what about the controversy? The controversy. So, what controversy would that be? Actually, you know, in the history of controversial shows, what are we looking at? And they were, you know, the controversy. That was the entire focus.
However, those are the questions that people want to ask. I mean, do you take that in consideration when coming up with your...
We do, but, you know, you're looking at local media who see and know everything, and they... we know she's a singer. We know she can sing. Give us the dirt. But we're making a show for a wider audience, and for us, you know, we're telling a chronology, a biography of one person. We're trying to fit that life into an hour. We're not going to spend a unnatural amount of time on controversy when, you know, the reason that got her to be famous in the first place wasn't her controversies. So, you know, we try and stay focused.
Fair enough.
Speaking of which, did you discover anything about Siti that was new, that blew you away, that wasn't on, say, Wikipedia?
Did I?
Basically, what I'm asking for you is secrets.
No, we all have our secrets, and I certainly wouldn't be telling them on radio. I didn't. I mean, for me, I know this sounds terrible. I just was amazed how good a singer she was, and whether that's a discovery, and you all know it, but come on, she's just a brilliant singer, and that really was a highlight.
So, as someone who's coming in from say England, was it easy for you? I take it wasn't hard for you to actually appreciate her popularity. You saw exactly where it was coming from.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Right. And is there any particular reason you decided to do the story now? Like, for example, you know, the program This Is Your Life. A lot of them do it after, for example, retirement.
Right.
Yeah, you wait till somebody's gone through all different stages. Now, Siti, I think, just started a family, recently married,
right.
Relatively recent. Any particular reason for choosing Here Now?
Not especially. As I said, she's been on the cards. We did P. Ramlee. That took us a while. We've done Sudirman. He was a big story, and you know, Siti. When we sit around and we look for our commission, Siti was there. And then the first question is, okay, can we get Siti? And then we're working. First and foremost, that's our job. Will she want to take part in the show? Will she give us some time? And then we'll take the next step.
I take it she was very happy to be on the show?
I believe so. I haven't heard otherwise.
Which brings me to the point. Would her non-involvement have been a deal breaker? Or would you have continued with it anyway?
For me, I would not have liked to have continued with it.
Okay.
I would be forward to... I think a local audience, even if, however well they know their celebrity, however much they love their celebrity, they still want to see and hear that person speak. And, you know, she's talking about her life, right? She's talking about things that we might have forgotten about, or you might have forgotten about. So, yeah, for me personally, it would have been, yeah.
All right. We're talking about the Dato Siti Nurhaliza documentary here in the evening edition. We'll be right back after the BFM News Updates. I'm Caroline O.
And I am Uma Pagan Nampike Pagan.
This is the evening edition where we're talking about the making of the Dato Siti Nurhaliza documentary. With us is Chris Humphrey, who is the executive producer of AETN All Asia Networks. Now, Chris, you said a little earlier that the documentary took about a year so far.
It's
It's been about a year. How many people were involved in the actual production of the documentary?
The production team, I'm not exactly sure. I think you're probably looking about 10 of the team. And then from our end, as a broadcaster, essentially, I'll be the one who oversees the show from start to finish.
Right. And I suppose, can you give us a ballpark figure as to how much something like this would cost? This is a business station, after all. We like our numbers.
Do you? In that case, a couple of dollars.
Yeah, what am I going to do with him?
Well, you know, we're in the third world, Caroline. Neighbours cheap.
Okay, fair enough.
And what was making a documentary? You know, you can spend anything between 20,000 to 100,000 USD.
Right.
That's a ballpark for docos, Singapore and Malaysia as well. Yeah. Depending which network, depending who's paying for it.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier about having some sort of regional appeal.
Right.
And who are the target audience other than the big fans in Malaysia and Indonesia? I mean, is this something that a History Channel would air in the UK, in the US, in other I guess demographics?
Which show are you?
The City documentary, for example. Because in my mind, it seems something very specific.
It is specific. Some channels overseas, they do have room or they do have blocks where they want to show Asian content, which it would fit nicely because it's still, you're still formatted in an international channel style.
Mm-hmm.
So in that way, in terms of the subject matter, yes, she's very local and great for our regional. Would UK people know about it? I mean, even though she was in the Albert Hall,
Mm-hmm.
you probably, there will be the Asians who will know her for sure.
Yeah.
Would a UK channel air it? I don't know.
Right.
Okay. And still on the documentary, apart from Siti, were there many other interviewees that you had on the show, and who was prominent?
For me as the EP to oversee it, one of the prominent interviewees I enjoyed was Alam.
Okay, yeah. Just
because he was quite funny, and I had some moments. It's nice to have some humour in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Najib Ali was also very articulate, I thought, which was good.
Okay. Yes.
We're not going to be able to pry much.
I know there was a pause. I thought you were
pause.
thinking.
Yes.
No.
Now, what about the director Bernard Chowley? Have you ever worked with him before, and what was that like?
I haven't worked with Bernard before. We've met him a few times, and he's pitched my ideas before. So yeah, he's fun. I like him. And
were there any?
But he's in UK half the time. It's
he is, isn't he?
Get a decent conversation with the guys. Like, wait, are you doing your homework over there? Yes.
Now, were there any conflicts in how to tell the story? Not just between, I guess, producers and directors, but also with the involvement of Siti and maybe her family as well?
Not really. I mean, as a channel, as a history channel, what we were making was a biography, which is essentially a chronology. So, we're not twisting the stories in any way. I mean, one of the interesting things is, we're over length. You're at 55 minutes, and then the local producers don't want to let go of anything. That's it. We're like, hold on, we're making a 48.5-minute show. We need to lose 6.5 minutes. Cannot. Can. So that, in a way, you're that outside, and you just got a fresh pair of eyes. We don't need this. This isn't important. Are you willing to let go of this? And then we negotiate a little bit what we can cut out. And I totally understand that as well.
Because, we need that 11.5 minutes of advertising.
We do indeed.
All right, so now we may ask you additional dirt. How easy or difficult?
Did you say additional dirt?
Additional dirt, yeah.
Right, okay.
How easy or difficult was it working with Siti Nurhaliza? Don't worry, it's just you, me, and Caroline.
That's right, no one else can hear us. Call a spade a spade.
It wasn't difficult at all.
No diva moments?
No.
Oh, fantastic. That's always nice to know.
I mean, no flaws at all in her media perfect image. That's really depressing. It's so depressing.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's how it is. I mean, come on, you can ask as much as I haven't found any.
Let's dig a little bit deeper. Was it difficult to get access to her family, her friends, for example?
Her peeps?
Nope.
Really?
Was that a convincing no, Umar? Do you think that was convincing no?
Maybe you want to talk to the production company about that one.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just say there's a lot of people willing to talk about Siti.
Yes.
And not just asking weird, incriminating questions.
Well, any part of the documentary that you were perhaps pressured to exclude? Give some hints. Come on.
Pressure to exclude? You give me some hints. Like
I
what?
don't know. I didn't. All right, Uma.
Talk about the controversy. No, I'm kidding. No, but have you actually seen her perform? Have you seen her live?
I haven't seen her live, no.
Okay, but I'm assuming there's been footage.
Yes.
Okay, and is that footage in the documentary as well?
Yes, we have footage of her in the show.
Now, do you think she inspires that kind of adulation? Is that a good assessment? Is it
worthy?
Is it warranted?
Absolutely.
Yeah, is it worthy?
I really believe it is worthy. Yeah.
Okay, we'll pick up in just a little bit. Chris, tell us, how does this documentary differ from the other productions that you've done so far?
How does it differ?
Or does it differ?
That's a hard question. To have somebody so famous in the show, I mean, really famous for a country, as a celebrity is possibly a first. We had Dr. Mahathir. You know, I wouldn't say everybody loves Dr. Mahathir, right? He's certainly.
We're going to reserve comment on that one.
he's certainly famous. Again, Tony Fernandez. He's a businessman, and he's not going to be so appealing. But Siti's actually a big star. And if I'm not wrong, if I'm thinking over the productions, to have such a big star take part in the show, that's really how it differs. And to be able to, access some of her music and listen to it on the show as well.
Do you guys have a signature a style when you approach these kinds of documentaries? I mean, because we were speaking earlier, and you said about how the objective is to tell a chronology and tell a story, and you're not necessarily digging for dirt and so on and so forth. So is there a style in when tackling these kind of personalities that you say, look, this is what we want?
No, we want to tell the story for sure, and if you look at the international channels, they're a faster paced channel than local channels, right? So we've got to fit a lot more information in, and to hold a cable network audience, we need the ups and downs, we need the triumphs, we need the problems, the challenges. We have to cater for all that in an hour show.
The true life story, comes to mind.
So in terms of a style, we definitely approach every show in the same way, that we're going to be able to fill an hour as a decent, and make it good viewing. Is there
I'm assuming you've seen the finished product, or is the product finished now? Is it ready to go?
We're still chopping out those 4 minutes.
4 minutes. But okay, from that penultimate product, is there a message that you think that would translate well, not just for Malaysian audiences? Actually, or is there a new message for Malaysian audiences from Siti's life, or something that would translate overseas as well?
Yeah, I mean, the countryside girl who made it big, massively big. I think that can be an inspiration to anyone. And also, nice people can be famous too.
See, he's just reinforcing the point of that media perfect image.
But it's true, right? Everyone's looking, you're hoping there's big floors and people scramble their way to the top, and they stab and they do whatever to get... but let's not forget that talent helps, No,
talent does help, but I suppose in telling a story, let's be honest about it, in telling a story, it makes it much more interesting when somebody is scrambling in this blood, sweat and tears involved, rather than, stepping up a pretty pedestal. And there I'm talented, yes. And I win.
Well, yeah. But there is something nice about that, though, to be fair.
It is.
So,
that's why it'd be unusual. It'd be nice to have it'd be novel, right?
It's just jealousy talking, is what it is. Yes.
When is it? When do you think the documentary is going to air? Or is there a target date?
January next year.
Okay. And what kind of reaction are you expecting?
I'm hoping we'll get a lot of eyes on the channel. Hoping we'll get a lot of viewership. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of questions similar to the ones that you've been asking today. I'm sure. I think people will be interested in hearing her reflecting on her own life at this stage of her life. I think, people will genuinely want to hear that. A bit about her childhood, some of the times she, entered competitions, failed, moved on. I'm imagining, hey, what about, you didn't talk about this, or, give us more of the dirt.
But yeah, I guess. Did you get similar reactions with all the other documentaries? I mean, were there lots of eyes on channel? Did you get positive feedback?
We've had great feedback with our local productions in Malaysia. The Malaysian audience, to us, is a very, it's a great audience. It really appreciates the local content we make. P. Ramlee got a lot of feedback, and feedback that we weren't expecting, which was Malaysians looking at themselves at how could we have treated an icon this way, and there was a bit of introspection, and it was in the papers here, and we didn't see that coming, but they really looked at themselves and took it out public in the newspapers, discussed it online.
Yeah, and there is a lot of guilt about that, actually. The way we treated P. Ramlee towards the last days of his life. And I think the documentary made a good point of that.
Yeah, and Sudirman got great viewership. Dr. Mahathir did ever so well. So we have a very responsive Malaysian audience to our channels, and we totally appreciate that, and we want to keep satisfying that audience.
Fantastic.
Okay. Now, in wrapping up, just a quick one. In years to come, what do you think will remain in your memory from this documentary with Dato Siti?
What'll be in my memory is I'm going to have to go back to somebody who's purely a pitch perfect, amazing singer. Because we make a lot of vignettes. In Malaysia, or stories where you have performers nowadays, they're very rounded. They're actors, they're singers, they work in a theatre, they're models, they've got their own brands, they're all talented, right? Mm-hmm. You know, even if you look at Sudirman, he wasn't a singer as such. He was a fantastic entertainer.
Yeah, he was a showman.
So I'm seeing a lot more of these kind of personalities coming forward that are entertainers and media stars. Siti is purely a fantastic singer, and I totally appreciate it, and we'll remember that.
I think we got a new fan. We got a big-time fan right here.
And convinced himself throughout this interview.
It's those music teaching days, remember?
All right, so we'll wrap things up. Chris Humphrey, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To find more great interviews, go to bfm.my or find us on iTunes. BFM 89.9, the business station.